Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to our digital huddle. And as you can see, we got Kristen back. We got Kristen back. Yeah? No? Okay. There's always a song that comes into my mind. And
Yeah,
so
well, that wasn't a song though. That was just something you made up.
I'm
But
bringing sexy back.
Kristen's back. All right.
I'm bringing sexy back. Justin Timberlake.
I did not get that. Okay,
We're
gotcha.
bringing Kristen back.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're back in the many lessons from my life, the small lessons, and there's a whole bunch of them. And I'm excited about this one. This is one that I've taught before, and so if you've been around me for the last couple of years, you've probably heard me teach this one. But I want to explain it a little bit more today, and then next week. I'm excited because we have the next 5 weeks kind of mapped out, and next week is one that I've never taught to anyone at this point, and I'm really excited about that.
I'm excited too.
It's a new one, and
Yeah.
so today's many lesson from my life is this. It's what we call the 100% rule, and the 100% rule is something that I try very hard to live by. It's something that came to me when I was like 17, 18 years old. There was a day where I was, like I said, an older teenager. I was serving at our church in California, and one of the pastors came to me because I was just having like a down day. You know, I mean, like you just have a day where you're just not feeling it. And I was 17, 18 years old. I probably had a zit on my face that like was giving me like a bad day. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it
right.
is
Do you,
what it
you look
is.
back and think of all of the bad days you had as a 17, and there were too many, and they were not
Yeah, they weren't that bad.
that bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so all of that, this pastor came to me and said, "Hey, look, no matter what you're feeling, you have to be at 100% if you're going to be in this leadership role,
Mm.
because you always receive 50% in return." And what he meant, and really what I've grown in the years knowing this, is that no matter what you do, you get 50% back in return of what you're giving. And so um, I want to strive to, anytime I'm leading or in a leadership role, I want to be at 100%. I want to go at 100%, knowing that at the best case scenario, the return rate of people who are really engaging and interacting and lives are being changed, all that is only at a 50% rate if I'm at a 100% rate. Like it's a that big of a difference. And so if I have a day where I'm just not feeling it and I'm just not at 100, when I walk in those doors, my goal in the lobby or on stage when I'm preaching or whatever it is to be at 100, because I want the most return rate as I possibly can.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so, I mean, I think about, a few weeks ago, I was sick and I was preaching, and Pastor Ben was out of town, and I'm the backup, for Pastor Ben that day, and he's not available. He's not even in town, and I was sick, and so I had a choice to, it's not like you can't call in sick, you can't be sick, of course you can be, but I had a choice, and my choice was to either be like, Pastor Ben, I'm sick, we have to come up with another plan, or to show up. And I wanted to show up. I wanted to bring that word. I'd worked hard on that word,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be able to communicate that word that day. And so I chose to show up.
Yeah.
Now, when I chose to show up, because I don't want you to feel like I'm telling you that you can't have a bad day or a sick day or something like that. I'm not trying to convey that message today. But what I am trying to say is that if you choose to show up in a leadership role, I chose to show up that day. So, sick or not, I needed to go at 100%.
Yeah. And I think it's important to evaluate too, um, like where you're at on the scale. So,
Yeah.
you imagine you're all the way over to 100. You've got, I'm trying to depict a scale. I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. Like, if you're at 75, number one, why?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why don't you, like, take some time, dig through what's going on? Because, like we were just saying, when I was 17, everything seemed like the end of the world. And as I got older, I look back and I realize, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So maybe evaluate where you are.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not as it's not doesn't need to cause as extreme emotional fluctuation as it is.
Yeah.
Maybe you really need to have some time that's set aside that's like actually filling you,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you haven't been intentional about that.
It's good. Yeah. So really, like, look at where you are, assess yourself, and understand where you are.
Absolutely.
Which
Yeah.
actually, if you
Like have an honest conversation with
yeah,
yourself.
this last week, side note, we got a couple extra minutes here. This side note, this last week I was preaching on the health of your soul, the fit check of your soul.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of my message I cut because I had about 25 minutes more to preach of notes, and so you had to really either say we're going to have 3 services that day, or Mike's going to preach for an hour, and so that's where the illustration at the end came from. I threw that in at the last minute in order to cut a whole bunch of my notes out to make the time work, and so a few things I was going to have you do is really do like a test for every section. Your mind, take a test. Your will, take a test. Your emotions, take a test. Assess where your soul is. But there was a fourth point I cut, and it was the point on rest.
Mm.
Fit check my rest.
Yeah.
And fit checking your rest. You need to rest. There's studies that show that people who take a Sabbath, that take a day off,
Yes.
they end up living longer than the people who don't. Like, you need to take that time
Yeah.
to just let your body rest. And in the rest, what you'll find is that you have this clarity to fit check the other areas of your soul, because you're
Right.
not listening to all the other noise. You're finally quiet enough to listen to your soul.
And you, I mean, you're somebody that kind of deals with not being able to rest or
Yes, I
not
struggle with that.
choosing to rest
Yes.
because you see all of the things that need to be done and
Yeah.
you're a hard worker. Um, but would you say that it's fair to say that it's a habit that you have to start, like you have to unlearn one and learn another?
It's a discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's the same thing as, if you want to be a morning person, you don't just magically like change your mind and become a more like you set your alarm and then you like, have very mean thoughts towards that alarm for a few weeks
Right.
until like you begin to build that in you, and the discipline then becomes who you are, but at the
Right.
beginning it's not.
And I think that those kind of things also make it to where um, your the difference between 75% and 100 starts to disappear
Hmm.
whenever you've really, in the sense that, is this really that big of a deal? When you start giving yourself really that time, that necessary time to rest, the things that maybe you would look back and be like, yeah, that wasn't a big deal.
Hmm.
It comes a lot quicker
Yeah.
in those moments. That like mental resilience is there.
Yep. Well, I mean, again, I like statistics. And we all know that I constantly talk about statistics,
I
but
love it.
I,
It's
I,
fun.
I love some good stats. But the reason you see churches full at the beginning of the year, gyms full at the beginning of the year, um, the produce section empty at the beginning of the year instead of the cookie aisle. You know what I mean? Like,
No, the cookie aisle is empty because of the night before.
yeah. Well, the reason you see so much at the beginning of the year is people are like, hey, we're going to start the year and get my life right and all these
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
But then what you see is within a couple weeks, it all falls away because studies show it takes about 21 days to build a habit.
hmm,
And so, really, truly, the rest comes with the habit building. You need to build the habit to
right,
get there.
yeah.
Now we got to hurry up and get through this, but
Let's
a
go.
100% rule. So if you're going to show up and be the leader, you need to go at 100% so you have the best return. I was talking a little bit about, like, I came up and I preached a few weeks ago, and obviously I didn't have a voice. People saw that, like, and they're like, "Oh, are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm great. Like, let's go. Like, let's reach the world for Jesus." By the end of that day, though, preaching 3 services, it felt like someone took like blades to my neck. You know what I mean? And just
Yeah,
like, and
to the
um,
inside of your throat.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's
It
be
took,
clear.
yeah, yeah. It took a while to kind of like feel better,
Right,
even. But I chose. It was my choice to show up, and when I was there, then it was my choice to be at 100,
right.
and I was going to be at 100 so that 50 would respond. The 50% would respond.
Yes.
And so there's a scripture I want to share before we close out today, and it's this. It's Psalms 128 verse 2. It says, "You will definitely enjoy what you've worked hard for. You'll be happy and things will go well for you." And I love it because the Bible also talks about life is like a vapor. And I just think, we don't have tons of time to just sit on our butts and do nothing. Like, why not go at 100 and know that you're going to get a 50% return?
Absolutely. And it's funny, we were talking just a little bit before we started this about hard work and people that they haven't necessarily led a life where they were maybe shown hard work
Yeah.
or were allowed to just kind of sit around and not cultivate a hardworking
Hmm.
mentality. And my response was, if you tell me how little someone's working and how much rest they think that they need, I can tell you without seeing them their physical health.
Yeah. A lot of times it's all tied together, your physical, your emotional, your soul. Like that's why we just did the whole series, the
Absolutely.
Fit Check series.
Absolutely. And not to say, like,
Spirit, body, soul.
yes, and it's not to say that there's like this one perfect image.
Yeah.
It's different for every person's body, but the health of the inside and the outside correlate.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So good. So, moral of the story, the lesson for the day, let's go at 100%. If you want to be a successful leader in your life, in your work, at the church, go at 100% when you're working. And then don't forget to take some time to rest.
Absolutely,
And then
yes.
when you're done resting,
Get at
go at
it.
100% again.
Let's go.
I love you guys. We'll see you. It's going to be a great weekend at GC.